In our last segment, we talked with Stephen and Mary Green Swig about the concept of forgiving all student debt, period, just liberating people from that burden, liberating an entire generation. And I do think that's a good idea. I think it's an idea whose time is coming. But what can we do in the meantime? Well, there are a number of things. As you know, the president has come out with a student borrower Bill of Rights. Elizabeth Warren is talking about lowering the interest rates that students pay on their debts so that they are the same, essentially the same rates that banks pay to the Federal Reserve. All of these are good ideas. Anything that relieves the burden of student debt in the interim is a great idea, but we should be questioning as a society whether the mountain of student debt, which we have created, is a moral or a good thing. I would argue it is not. But here's another thing we should be talking about: the Corinthian 15. The Corinthian 15 are 15 students of Corinthian Colleges Incorporated. That is a corporation that ran out of money, that went bankrupt after failing to comply with federal regulations, and therefore having its pay briefly suspended by the Department of Education. But it was so mismanaged that it went out of business when that happened, even though it was just a 3-week hold. Now, it turns out the Corinthian Colleges Incorporated, it's one of those for-profit companies like University of Phoenix, or operated a number of schools, including Everest College. What they did was they defrauded students. Let's not mince words here. They claimed that they would get counseling services, job placement services, which they did not get. It turned out to be just a link to Craigslist, that sort of thing. It turned out that they were giving students usurious loans, outrageously unreasonable loans, and they've gone bankrupt. Now, the government, the Department of Education, under current regulations, could have given many of the students of Corinthian colleges relief from their student debt. It could have freed them from their student debt because the rules as enacted, the laws and regulations as enacted, clearly say that when a school goes out of business, students can have their debt relieved. Instead, the government reportedly brokered a deal with a debt collection agency, company that does other things but primarily collects debt, to take over Corinthian, and made the students continue to pay those debts, even though by now everybody knows the story of what a sham organization this school was, and their degrees will not help them get jobs. They're in the marketplace, they're really devalued. So the Department of Education really let these students down, and that's shameful. Now, they said a couple of things. They said it would cost $33 million just to start with the initial group of students who had applied for relief. So they were basically saying it would be bad for the budget. Well, you know what? Helping defrauded young people is more important than balancing the budget, I would say. Number two, they pointed out that Corinthian Colleges has Incorporated has 12,000 employees. Well, there are much better ways to create jobs. There are much better jobs programs. There are much better ways to finance job programs than on the backs of cheated students. So I am very, very, very disappointed with the Department of Education in the way it's handled the Corinthian situation, and you should be too. Now, a number of senators, I believe the count is 13 now, have come out in favor of giving these students, the Corinthian students, relief from their student loans. Instead, so far, what they've gotten is a deal where $480 million out of a total $1.2 billion owed for Corinthian quote-unquote educations has been forgiven. Well, if I sell you a car that doesn't run, I don't deserve 60% of the asking price. I deserve 0% of the asking price, and you can give me the car back. So this is a raw deal that just doesn't work. So while we're fighting for a more global solution to the cost of education, including free higher education, at least through public schools, for everyone who wants it, and a relief for everyone from student debt. In the meantime, free the Corinthian 15, free the Corinthian 70,000, and everyone else who is enrolled in a Corinthian school. I ask you to join me in making that call. I am Richard RJ Eskow, and this is The Zero Hour.